Welcome back to Trucking the Seven Seas. This is episode number 58, and in this episode, we're going to go over week 7 of the Landstar Owner-Operator Program. For this episode, you'll notice I'm once again not in my normal filming setting. I am not in the truck. I am once again at the Excalibur in Las Vegas, Nevada. So last episode, we left off in Redding, California, so I dropped a load in Redding, California. I grabbed it in Iowa and then dropped it in Redding. And then after that load, I got a cold call from an agent, grabbing another load in Sacramento, and then headed to Las Vegas. So I did that one. I don't have any film for it because it was just a cold call and I didn't bother filming it. And then after that load, I ended up getting another cold call and picking up a load in Las Vegas and then heading to Georgia, so Atlanta, Georgia. And then after that phone call, that was actually the last load for this episode. I then got another phone call, picking up another load in Atlanta and then coming back to Las Vegas. So that's what I did. I ended up taking those 3 loads. Now, only 2 of them made the paycheck. However, on the way to Atlanta, my APU started to not work, basically. It got stuck in bootloader mode, and I ended up not being able to use it. So I stopped in Atlanta after I dropped that load. So we went from Redding to Sacramento to Las Vegas to Atlanta. And we dropped the load in Atlanta, and then I brought it in. And they basically replaced the little tablet thing I have in there. And then it started working for a day, and then I took off and I grabbed this load basically from Atlanta and then started heading to Las Vegas again, and it fixed it for about a day and then it started acting up again. So as a result, I'm now in Las Vegas and I'm dropping this load actually in a couple of days. So I picked up a load in Atlanta and then I'm dropping it in Las Vegas, but there's a couple day gap in there between when I got here and when I need to drop it. But that's totally okay because I need to take my APU into the Thermo King here. And so I did that, and I'm already in Vegas. So I went from Sacramento to Las Vegas over here, and then Las Vegas to Atlanta, and then Atlanta back to Vegas. So I'm in Vegas, and I'm trying to get that fixed. And while I'm here, I'm actually going to play in the World Series of Poker a little bit. For the new viewers, I usually stop at the World Series of Poker every year and play in a tournament or two. I'm not sure what I'm going to play in, but that's what's going on. And I decided, since last episode I left off in the Excalibur Casino, I would go ahead and start filming in the Excalibur Casino again. So that's where I am. Got a new hotel room, and that's what we're doing, and that's the updates. So another update for these videos is I'm no longer going to film myself calling the brokers or the agents because A, it's extremely time consuming. So every time I call one of them, I have to then start editing every single phone call. And this has been a huge time suck. So the last couple of episodes I tried that, and it's just such a huge time suck. I'm no longer going to do it. It just takes too long to film it and then edit it. And then oftentimes, as you saw in the last episode, so many of the loads just end up being covered that I just have this like huge volume of filming on my phone, and it just doesn't work out very well. So I decided I'm no longer going to do that, and for this episode in particular, there actually isn't any videos of that because, again, I ended up getting cold called by a couple of agents and taking a couple of loads that way. So that's just a general update, is that I'm no longer going to try to film myself calling the agents because it is just way too time consuming. So instead of showing you the phone calls I make and kind of live streaming that with the load boards, I'm just going to show you the confirmation that Landstar sends on the load board, and we're just going to go off that and I'll describe why I chose that load. That'll make it a lot easier, I think, for me to start to film and keep track of everything, and I think it'll be just as good. But with that said, a lot of you have been asking me about the load boards and you want to see more of the load board. So instead of showing you how I'm choosing loads and why I'm choosing loads live on the load board, I've decided I'll probably start integrating a load board search every week. So we're going to go ahead and make a cut, and I'm going to show you what the load board looked like in Atlanta on Friday, and I'm going to go over Reefer, Van, and Flatbed, and we're just going to go over the load board. I'm just going to show you guys the load board because a lot of you have been asking for it, and hopefully that works for you as far as seeing the load board. I think it'll be a lot clearer, and it'll save me a lot of time as well. So let's go ahead and cut to the load board in Atlanta on Friday. I'm on the load board right now. We are currently just outside of Atlanta, so we're going to do a search in Atlanta, which is a good market, and I'm going to do Van, and then I'm going to do Reefer, and then I'm going to do Flatbed, and just show you what kind of loads are coming out on a Friday in Atlanta. So yeah, it's currently Friday, so just keep that in mind. But yeah, so we're going to see what kind of loads are coming out of Atlanta in a Flatbed, in a Reefer, and in a Van. So let's do it. All right, so here's a basic search I'm just going from Atlanta today, radius of 200 miles, so anywhere within 200 miles. Minimum rate per mile, $2. That's just to filter out the trash. And we're going to first do van. These are hazmat loads, no teams, and none of the weird stuff where like I have to collect from the shipper or anything like that. Okay, so it's just a pretty basic search. Basically, within it, a hazmat load potentially in Atlanta for $2 per mile. And yeah, that's about it. So same rules as last time. I'm gonna have to hide some information. So like right down here, I got some personal information there, so I'm gonna hide that. And when I pull up the search menu, you'll see a bunch of information kind of on the left side that's gone away. That's because there's phone numbers and whatnot. But yeah, that's gonna happen. So just be prepared for that. Yeah, but let's go ahead and make the search. Yeah, so again, if you go over here, there's like phone numbers, like right over there. There's phone numbers, so I'm just hiding that. So like from here over is actually cut off, so that's what's going on there. But yeah, I'm just hiding information. Other than that, though, pretty straightforward. Okay, so let's go ahead and do rate per mile, cycle by rate per mile. Okay, so yeah, so here are the loads. This is short or long. So right here, I mean, you got a 32-mile load that's paying $13 per mile. So if you wanted to do some local work, you could definitely do something like that. You know, which is fine. I mean, you know, really short loads are going to pay really well. So that's what that. And then here's one going from Atlanta, Georgia to Indianapolis, Indiana for $5 per mile. So whenever you see something like this, like $5 per mile, there's usually a catch. So I don't actually believe that this is just a straight, you know, live unload or live load, live unload. Let's click on it. So I'm going to click on details. There's another button over here that has details. So I'm just clicking on details. You can kind of see it right there and just opening it in new tab. Okay, again, I'm hiding some information here, I'm sure. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, it says it picks up in Atlanta. Oh, that's the problem. Okay, yeah, I see the problem. So it picks up in Atlanta today, but you can't drop it for a week. So that's the problem with this load, and you'll see stuff like that quite often. In fact, I took a load as I'm filming. I took a load like that where it had like a 4-day like gap period, but I was going to Vegas, and I was going to Vegas so I can go play in the World Series of Poker. So I'm like, you know, that load works out really well for me in this particular instance. So I took it, and it paid like $250 a mile over like 2,000 miles or something. So it's pretty good. No, well, not bad anyway. But yeah, you'll see stuff like this. So this one right here, yeah, you know, you'd have to hold on to it for an entire week. So that's why that one pays so much. And you'll see stuff like that all over the place. I'm sure with this one right here, there's a catch with this one going, well, it's going to Florida. We'll click on this one right here. So this one is a 450-mile load going to Tampa, Florida. Let's just see why it pays so well. I'm sure there's a good reason. And the reason is, oh, same reason. Yeah, it doesn't deliver for a while. So yeah, you got to pick it up, and then you carry it through the weekend, and you have it over the weekend, and then you deliver on Monday, but it's only 400 miles. So you'll see a lot of stuff like that where, you know, there's a caveat. That's why it's paying $376 per mile, is because there's a caveat to it. I've had ones where you pick it up and then you drop your trailer for like 3 days at a construction site, and then you go back and get it. You know, there's a bunch of stuff like that. And I would guess most of these loads, like this one, probably there's a caveat to that one. You know, there's a caveat to basically all these, I would guess, which is why they're paying so well. So if you scroll down, I mean, a normal load, let's try to find a longer one. Yeah, let's look at this one. Okay, so this one pays $265 per mile, which is pretty good. Not bad for this market, but it is going to Colorado, so that's the only downside. I would guess there actually isn't a catch to this one, so let's see. Yeah, it picks up today after 1, drops on Monday at 8, so to carry you through the weekend, 1,500 miles, $265 per mile. Doesn't appear to be any caveats to this. The only caveat is you have to go to Colorado, and you're probably going to have to deadhead out. So that's why this one pays okay. So it's 1,500 miles, you know, not too bad. I mean, I might be willing to take this if I wanted to go to Colorado. I don't. But yeah, there's a kind of a more reasonable load that doesn't really have too many caveats. The only caveat on this one is it goes to Colorado. It does carry you through the weekend, though, which is kind of nice. And yeah, I mean, you know, I'm just pausing, letting you guys look at it. I mean, you can just sort of look at all the numbers here. This one, 917 miles, $253 per mile, going to Connecticut, if you wanted to do that. Going to Ohio, South Carolina, North Carolina. You know, they're going all over the place, especially on the East Coast, because, you know, that's where most of the U.S. population lives. So if you want to run the East Coast, you're in luck. If you're like me and you want to kind of run back and forth between West and East, well, you got little more challenging, I suppose. But yeah, and I'm just going real slow. Again, this is van, so letting you guys just kind of look through it. So yeah, I guess no commentary really needed. This right here says stops, so that's what that is about. So there's one stop in there as well. Guess we'll click on that one real quick. So yeah, so picks up in Atlanta, Georgia, stops in Anderson, South Carolina, and then continues on to Van Buren, Ohio. It is, it is during the weekend, so the second is a Sunday, so just a note there. And it breaks down like your fuel surcharge on this one as well. Sometimes they do that, sometimes they don't. But yeah, so there's that one. And yeah, go ahead and go back now. Just gonna slowly scroll, let you guys look through this. Pause the video if you see something that's kind of interesting to you. I can't click on all of them because there is way too many. But yeah, so yeah, but there you go. There's every load paying more than $2 per mile coming out of Atlanta, and with the 200-mile radius. Yeah, that's a van right there. Again, just gonna scroll up, let you guys, if you want to pause it, feel free. If you want to go slow, feel free, but just letting you guys look through it a little bit. Yeah, okay, there you go. So there's van. If you want to go back and look at some of these loads, feel free. I can't click on all of them, clicked on a few of them for you, but now we're going to go ahead and move on to Reefer, and yeah, let's do that right now. All right, so same thing, same search criteria, same everything. I'm just going to change it to Reefer and hit search. Okay, so here's Reefer. Again, cycle by rate per mile. And here we go. Yeah, so, I mean, pretty similar. These loads paying $3 per mile. This is actually the first time I'm actually doing a search for Reefer, because I don't run Reefer. So let's see, let's check out this good one right here, kind of. Going to Florida, picks up today, drops tomorrow. I'm hiding a bunch of information kind of down here. So yeah, there's a bunch of information being hidden right now. I already know there is. But yeah, 316 a mile, or 360 miles, $3.32 per mile. Pretty heavy. Picks up today, drops tomorrow. Will not carry you through the weekend, and it goes to Florida. I would not take this load, but that's just me. There's that one. Kind of slowly scroll down, let you guys have a look at everything. Let's see. Let's try to find 1,000 miles or more. Oh, there isn't one. Oh, there's not much coming out of Atlanta right now. Yeah, there's only like 20 loads or something. Interesting. Yeah, so that's it right there. And there's not much to scroll through. Yeah, but these are all the Reefer loads. They seem to be paying, $2.50 per mile on average, maybe a little more. Going to Florida, Virginia, Wisconsin, New Jersey, Michigan. Yeah, I mean, I would think they would pay better, and I would think there would have been longer loads. It's surprising here. This one is kind of interesting. It's only 5,000 pounds. Going to Maryland. Let's see what that one's about. Yeah, going to Maryland, picks up today, drops on Monday. So again, it's only 672 miles. So you would be picking it up today, pretty much getting it there by today, and then you have to sit Saturday and Sunday to drop this one. So again, not very attractive. I mean, and you can also do this one with a van. So it's not necessary. This one isn't necessarily a Reefer. It's a Reefer or a van. So yeah, you don't have to turn the cooler on there. I could haul this one in a van if I wanted to, but I would not want this one. I mean, that's not good at all. Yeah, you got to sit for 2 days. So yeah, interesting. But yeah, there's that one. And yeah, not much more to say. I mean, looks like the only thing to say here is, like, if you're in Atlanta and you're trying to get a load to carry you through the weekend today, you're in a bad way, because there really isn't much. So I would not want to be you if I had a Reefer. I guess I would try to find a Reefer that could also do a van. Or I guess this does count that, though. Yeah. Yeah, so if you're in Atlanta right now and you have a Reefer and you're trying to get a load to carry you through the weekend, you're screwed. Good luck to you. All right, now let's go on to Flatbed. All right, so same thing. Just going to click on Flatbed, click off Reefer, same exact search criteria, and let's do a search. All right, so this is Flatbed. And, this is actually the first time I'm ever searching a Flatbed on here. Some of you guys have been asking for it. So here it is. I got this one, 132 miles, $4.92 per mile. And, The shorter the load, the higher the pay. So I think that's the only caveat to that one, 11,000 pounds. And I'll be honest, I don't FLHS. I'm not sure what that is. FLHS, flat high step. I'm not sure. I'm not too familiar with flatbed. Forgive my rookiness here, but yeah, this one's 48 foot. I can tell that. This one's 53 foot, but I'm not sure what that is. I'm sure one of you in the comments will tell me what that means. But yeah, again, I don't run flatbed, so some of you guys were asking for the search. Anyways, yeah, here are the loads. There are not a lot of them. Yeah, so you're seeing them all right now. There's only about 15, something like that. Looks like they're paying pretty close to $3 per mile, which is nice. Yeah, again, if you wanted to find one to carry you through the weekend, you'd have a tough time. This one probably would be your best bet because it's 900 miles going to Wisconsin. So, yeah, I guess we'll click on that one, see what that one's about. Again, it's a Friday, so you'd want one to try to carry you through the weekend. This one kind of does. I mean, you pick it up today, right about now, and you drop it on Monday, in the morning, whenever. See what it says here. Yeah, I can actually show you this. 1,500, 996 plunge pools. It's one plunge pool on pallets. Requires 8-foot tarp, so you got to tarp it. Dimensions are that. You can use a hot shot for this one. Or I wonder if that's a flatbed. Oh, I bet you that's flatbed hot shot. Yeah, I bet you that's what that means. Yeah, that's what that means. Yeah, flatbed hot shot. That's what that means. That must be what that means. Hot shot, for those of you who don't know, is just when you take like a normal Ford F-350 and then you put a flatbed trailer on the back, and then you haul stuff around that way. I've seen a lot of guys do that. That's called hot shotting, and I'm pretty sure that's what that means right there, hot shot. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, that would probably be your best bet if you wanted to get out of Atlanta today and try to carry you through the weekend. I mean, that's about a day and a half, a little less. But yeah, there's that load. And after searching this, I'm actually pretty glad I'm running a van right now. Yeah, these loads pay better for sure, but I mean, your options are very limited. So yeah, after looking at this, I'm actually pretty glad I'm in a van, because I mean, yeah, all of these loads pick up today and deliver on Monday, basically all of them. So if I had a flatbed or if I had a reefer right now, I'd pretty much be picking up a load and then getting it there and then taking like a day and a half off, just waiting for Monday to come around. So that's interesting. But yeah. Yeah, so there's that search. Hope you guys like that. I'll try to do this once a week, a lot of you guys have been asking for it, so I'll go ahead and probably start integrating this in every video, I think. Be pretty useful. But yeah, so there's the search, and we're going to go ahead and get back to wherever I left off, because I'm filming this in advance. So yeah, let's get back to the video. Okay, yeah, so there was the Loadboard load search for Atlanta. That was van, flatbed, and reefer. I'll try to do something like that every week. Just let me know what you guys think of that, and maybe I'll start taking requests at some point. But that's it for this week. It'll be just the Atlanta Loadboard search, and we'll try to do that every week. All right, so now that we got that out of the way, we're going to go over the loads I took this week. So I ended up only taking 2 loads. So if you remember from last week, I grabbed a load in Fairfield, Iowa, and I dropped it in Redding, California. And then after Redding, California, it was now this week's paycheck. So I ended up grabbing another load in Sacramento, California. So on the way to Redding, I got my hazmat endorsement. So then I was able to haul hazmat. So that was cool. So now I got my hazmat endorsement. Some of you guys have been talking about how you can't join Landstar if you don't have your hazmat endorsement, and that's not necessarily true. You just have to pass the background check. So when you get your hazmat endorsement, the first thing you got to do is pass the background check. The government is going to make sure you're not like a terrorist or something like that. So they do a background check, and all you have to have is proof that you did the background check and that you passed the background check. So I had that for a while, and then on my way to Redding, I visited some family's house and got my hazmat endorsement. So I got that, and then once I got to Redding, I then got a cold call about a load going from Sacramento, California, and heading to Las Vegas, Nevada. So I'm going to put the load, confirmation load, kind of right here, I guess. You'll see it right there. And so yeah, here it is right there. I guess I'll scoot over a little bit like that. There it is right there. So it's picked up in Sacramento, California, and I have kind of the image down here so you can't see, so that's why I'm looking down there. So I picked it up in Sacramento, California, and went to Las Vegas, Nevada. It's pretty simple. It was, I just picked it up and dropped it first come first serve in 2 days. So picked up on the 22nd, dropped on the 23rd. The rate per mile. So the rate per mile that you're seeing, it should be right about there, is sometimes it's accurate and sometimes it is not. And in this case, I don't think it's accurate. What it will do, so it will show, sometimes it will show the accessorials included, sometimes it will show the accessorials not included, sometimes it will not show Landstar's cup, sometimes it will. So it should be right over here, I'm guessing, and that's not accurate. So what it actually paid, my take home for that was actually what was it? Just about $2,000. So my rate per mile is 362, and I actually have it on the spreadsheet right now, which we're going to go over here in a bit. But just note, when you see those numbers, they're never accurate. So the actual pay that I got was about $2,000 on that one. So I took that, and then I dropped that in Las Vegas the next day, and that was my first hazmat load. It was fireworks, so pretty cool, pretty straightforward. I chose to not go through California, so I actually ended up going through. Actually, you know what? What am I doing? We're going to do the travel bow. So yeah, so I took this load from Sacramento to Las Vegas, actually. So I'm going to show you the little travel bow stat right now on the route I took. So let's do that. Okay, yeah, so there you go. I know you guys like that little Travel Boast app, and that's what it's called, by the way. It's called Travel Boast. You can get it on the App Store. I think it's like $20 a year or something I pay to use it. It's pretty deep. So that's what that is. So yeah, drop that one. Nice little hazmat load. Went ahead and drove through Nevada rather than California because California is ridiculous. But anyways, so we dropped that load one, and then while we were in Vegas, we got another cold call. So an agent just called me up and said, hey, I got this load going to Clarkston, Georgia, which is Atlanta. So at first I said no, because this load there was a bit of a time gap. So I guess I'm putting it right here at this point. So if you notice, I dropped that last load on the 23rd, and I dropped it in the morning. And this load picked up on the 24th, but at 4 p.m. And I was like, nah, I'm good, because I would have had to wait like an entire day, and I had like a full clock, so I wasn't going to do that one. So I said no, and then the agent actually called me back and said, hey, I'll throw in about $700 of additional accessorials on this load. And I was like, well, okay. So I reconsidered, and after reconsidering, I decided to take it. So you're seeing it right here. Again, the $1.80 is not accurate. So don't believe the number. It should be right there. I'll say it again and again, probably every time, but that number is just not accurate. What it actually paid, so I ended up getting $4,000 for the load, and it paid $205 a mile, so it's about a 2,000 mile load, and it paid a little over $4,000, so that's what that is about. So that one picked up at the convention center, so that was pretty cool. And she juiced my accessorials. So again, accessorials are not subject to Landstar's 35% cut. So it kind of juices your paycheck. And some of you guys have been mentioning how you should do more negotiating. And there really isn't much negotiating at Landstar, but what I am starting to learn is the things you can negotiate are the accessorials. So I might try that a little bit more. But yeah, so she juiced the accessorials because of the wait time. So I got that, which was pretty cool. And yeah, so we went ahead and picked it up at the convention center. So when you pick something up at the convention center, there's a marshalling yard, and then the marshalling yard is like 10 miles away from the strip, because the strip is obviously packed and they don't want you waiting there. So you go to the marshalling yard, and then you go to the convention center, and then you pick it up. You just wait for a phone call. So that's what I did. So we picked that load up at the convention center, and now we're going to Clarkston, Georgia. So let's go. Okay, yeah, so there is the load in Clarkston, Georgia. So we dropped that one, and then that was actually the last one that was going to hit the paycheck. Hope you guys like this format. We'll see. I might still change things up a little bit. Ever since I left night, I've been trying to figure out how I'm going to film these, and kind of what the format's going to be. So expect more changes to come, but I figured I'd try it this way. Let me know what you guys think. Hope you like the load board search. But with all that said, the Clarkston load is going to be the last load on this paycheck, so let's go ahead and get into the spreadsheet right now. For week 7, we did 2 loads. In those 2 loads, we got 2,703 miles. We were paid a total of $6,067. for a total of $2.24 per mile. Landstar's cut was $2,178 at 81 cents per mile. Fuel expenses were $988 at 37 cents per mile. We had two maintenance expenses. We had our governor removed for $250, and then we had our wire harness replaced for $1,700 for a total of $1,988 at 74 cents per mile. Other expenses: FWCP $72, truck scans $4, card fees $1.75, escrow $66, bobtail insurance $33, license fees $3.69, permits $10.58, plates $32, OmniTrax $93, security keys $42, and a hotel for $119 for a total of $481 at 18 cents per mile. That brings our total expenses to $3,458 at $1.28 per mile. Total revenue was $6,067 at $2.24 per mile. That brings our net settlement to $2,608 at 97 cents per mile. Total since starting the program, we have driven a total of 12,838 miles. Total expenses were $13,262 for an average of $1.03 per mile, and that is my cost per mile right there. Total revenue was $19,179 at $1.49 per mile. That brings our net cash flow to $5,916 at 46 cents per mile. Averages and other information. Average weekly paycheck is $845. We are getting 1,834 miles per week on average. Total fuel costs have been $5,592 at 44 cents per mile. Total maintenance costs were $4,952 at 39 cents per mile. Total other expenses were $2,717 at 21 cents per mile. If we kept this up for a 52-week period, we'd make $43,954 and drive a total of 95,000 miles. Landstar's 35% cut has taken a total of $6,503 at 51 cents per mile. We've been employed 49 days, or 7 weeks, taking 10 days off, 39 days on duty, taking 10 total loads, and the average load length is 1,284 miles. Okay, so caveats, pretty good as far as rate per mile. $2.24, that's not too bad. That's after Landstar takes its cut. This load right here paid very well. That was a hazmat load, so that's why that paid so well. And I might make hazmats a more common load I take. If they pay that much, I'll certainly do it. And this load was just a pretty good load because the accessorials were juiced. So you notice the accessorials, or the fuel surcharge as it's called, is pretty high. And it's pretty high because that's the load that the agent offered to juice my accessorials. So I might try to negotiate this a little more often. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, that's why this load paid so well. At least for a 2,000 mile load, it paid pretty good. But that's why that was that high. So there you go. Okay, and these maintenance expenses, I forgot to mention this. I think I did mention it in the last episode. I had my governor removed, so I brought the truck into a Freightliner shop. And basically, if you own a Prior, Knight, or Swift truck, which I do, they have their own deal with Freightliner that only a Freightliner can remove the governor. So I tried to have a shop do it, and they said, no, you have to bring it to a Freightliner and do it. So I'm like, oh, damn it, okay. So I did that. They charged me $250 for that. And while I was there, I was also having an ABS issue. So every time it started raining, the ABS would go off. It took me a while to actually realize that it was every time it started raining, the ABS would go off. So I didn't realize this until probably last week, and I think I mentioned it. So I brought it into the Freightliner shop, and I was asking, hey, do you have the part for this? And they checked, and like, yeah, we got the part. We can have it in there in a couple hours. And I'm like, damn, right. So I already had it in there. I had to pick up this load right here in Vegas the next day, and I didn't want to go to the East Coast with a broken wire harness that was probably gonna be subject to rain. So I normally don't want to do things at the Freightliner dealership because they charge like $200 an hour, whereas if you go to like some other place, it's a lot cheaper. You can get it for maybe $125 or something like that an hour. But because they were there, and because I had already brought it in, and because it was ready to go and they could have it done, and I already had a hotel, I was like, all right, just put it in there. So that's what I ended up doing. I definitely got charged quite a bit for that, and if I had just like, hey, just sell me the part and I'll take it to another dealership or another mechanic, I definitely could have gotten it a lot cheaper than that. However, they were there, they were available, the truck was already in the shop, so I decided just to let the Freightliner guys do it and just get on the road. And the reason why I kind of did that was because these, so if you go down, right, my maintenance expense has been quite high. It's 39 cents per mile, but there's the cost of that, and then there's just the time loss. And I think I'm on week 7 right now, and I think of the last few weeks, or the last 7 weeks, I've spent about 2 of them in maintenance, which has been a problem. So I had the maintenance expense with my knock sensor where I had to bring it in, and they replaced the knock sensor, but it took them a couple of days of looking and screwing around with it to figure out, okay, we just need to replace the knock sensor. Then I had the APU installed. That took about a week. And then I had obviously the governor removed and the wire harness, and that took another few days, or actually about a day and a half. And now I'm bringing my APU back in because it's stuck in bootloader mode. So these maintenance issues are becoming problematic. The cost is one thing, but then there's also just the time loss. So I'm losing day after day whenever something like this pops up. And I decided just to go ahead and just have them do it right then and there, and then I can just get on the road. But then right after I got on the road, my APU started to screw up. So it's like, damn it. But anyways, that's what's with that, and that's pretty much the biggest one right here. This maintenance expense is really kind of hamstringing me. Like, even if you dropped it down to a more reasonable, like, I don't know, 10 to 50 cents, 15 cents per mile, this would go up to 80 cents per mile or 70 some cents per mile, something like that. But in reality, it's not, the cost is bad, but the time loss is even worse. So hopefully these problems stop. And as far as this APU problem right now, I already brought it in. So I brought it into the Atlanta shop, and they tried replacing the HMI. It started working for a day, and that didn't fix it. So now I'm over here in Vegas, and they're working on it. And then after I deliver the load, I'm going to go ahead and see if it works. I'm kind of expecting it to not work and have to bring it right back in, but that's kind of okay because right now I'm planning on screwing around at the World Series of Poker, which is something I like to do. So we'll see if it goes. But yeah, right now the biggest thing that's slowing me down is not the load board or anything like that. It's just I keep running into maintenance issues, which they're costing me a lot of money. But specifically, the biggest issue is time. If I were able to run for those 2 weeks, if I were able to run for those 2 weeks, I would have gotten way more miles in, and my average weekly pay would have been way up, which would have comparatively lowered this significantly. So the maintenance is a big problem right now, but I'm hopeful that after I get this APU issue fixed, fingers crossed, things will stop breaking. Because this is not normal. 39 cents per mile for maintenance is through the roof, and I don't think it won't maintain that. So that's the biggest one right now that's slowing me down. This is just getting hamstrung by the maintenance issues, and I don't think this will be normal. It shouldn't be normal, but yeah. Other than that, I mean, if you were to like kind of bump, if you were to bump this down to like a more manageable, but if you were just to get rid of this, right, I would have had a really good week. Like, I would have made like $2 per mile or something like that. But unfortunately, this just really hamstrung this week, and previous maintenance issues have been pretty much hamstringing me for the last 2 months anyway. So that's what's going on there. I expect this to go up. I don't think this is normal at all. And also, the first week I spent at orientation, so there's like an entire week gone. So it's week 7, but I've really been able to drive for about 6 weeks. And of those 6 weeks, there's about 2 weeks of maintenance in there. So that's what's going on. I think things will improve. I'm confident they will. And once that happens, this will start to level out a little bit. But right now, it's not looking great. 46 cents per mile. Yeah, not good, but I think it'll improve from this point on. Yeah, but that's week 7, guys. For next week, I will probably, I'll actually only have one load on next week because I did end up taking a short load after the Clarkston load. I picked it up in that area, and it was just a real short load. I think it paid like $4 per mile or something like that, but it was only like 200 miles or something like that. I can't remember exactly. But so I took that load, and then after that load, I went back to Georgia and picked up another load in Georgia, and ironically heading straight back to the convention center here in Vegas, which is why I am again filming this at the Excalibur in Vegas. So we're doing that, and but that load in Vegas that I took to Vegas actually isn't going to make the paycheck. So next week there will only be one load on the paycheck, but the week after that there will be a very nice like 2,000 mile load that paid like $2 per mile or something like that on next week, the week after paycheck. So we're going to have a pretty good paycheck, I would think, the week after. So that's what's going on there. But that will do it for this episode. If you were interested in this spreadsheet or any of the other spreadsheets I've done in the past, they are available in the About section down below. Once you open them, just go to File, and then Download them to Microsoft Excel sheet. And after you download them to a Microsoft Excel sheet, you can use them however you please. But that will do it for this episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.